Oh, hey guys. I didn't know you were here. Good to see y'all. We are back for another day and another video. What is up, everybody? I hope all is well. It is another beautiful day here in wonderful South Central Wisconsin. I got famous Eddie following me around. You guys might have not seen him in a while. Say hi to everybody, Eddie. They miss you. For today's video, I am giving you guys a remodeling update. We're over here. I call it the big house. We have this house and another house next door. And we've been working on this one as we are trying to move in over here. If you come in from the side door, which you already saw me walk into, we come in to the kitchen area. And what have we done in here? Not a ton. We did rip off the old doors of the pantry closet. The pantry was pretty much a mess. We just got a temporary setup here as a plan is actually to eventually remove all these walls. Remove these walls. We're gonna open that all up. So you can see that'd be even more open than it is, which is my favorite part about this house. Not a ton of other work in the kitchen. We did switch out these knobs. I did switch this stove yesterday. I'll tell you a story on that in a second. The dining table there used to be over here. So we moved the dining table obviously where it's at. Set up this little sitting area by the window. There was a huge hutch here that my dad had built. And it's been there as long as I remember. Through many back and forths. Oh, hold on. We got the plumber here. We'll get back with you. Might have screwed up. Sorry guys, I'm back. Like I said, the plumber had stopped. That was about an hour and a half ago. So I don't know where I was in this video. What was I talking about? All right, I had to go back and look at the footage. I was talking about a hutch was here that my dad had built. It had covered this whole wall here. And through many back and forths with my wife, she was adamant on not having that hutch there anymore. So we went back and forth for months. And of course, as usual, I lost that argument. So in turn, there's pluses and minuses. Of course, it was my dad's. I really liked it. That being said, now that it's gone, I really like the openness of it, which is what we're trying to accomplish here. So I do like it with it not being there. So what my plan is, there's some kind of cool old cherry lumber in there. Or wait, was it cherry? No, there's cool old walnut lumber in there. And those walnut trees were actually right out here. Hold on a second. Back in the day, guys, well, that was my grandparents' place. It was my grandparents, my parents, and then me over here. Anyway, there used to be some walnut trees out there. And I believe back in the day, my grandpa and dad, they were taking down some walnut trees, and both of them made a few pieces of furniture out of it. Upon further review of this hutch when we took it out, most of it is made out of plywood. But a lot of the face stuff is made out of that walnut in the doors. So my plan is to take this whole wall and make a huge, beautiful art piece out of all that lumber from that hutch. And it'll kind of be a modernized accent wall with using my dad's old material. So I think that could be pretty cool, replacing the hutch with that nice piece of art. And speaking of art, guys, let me interrupt you guys for a minute. My name is Joe. I am a full-time artist here in Wisconsin, and I make stuff like this. Custom wall art, more custom wall art, beautifully crafted wood art. What else do we got in here? Gotta have some other stuff. We have this beautiful piece. I haven't found a spot for it yet. So yeah, guys, want some custom art? Get a hold of me. I'm your guy. Now back to our regular scheduled programming. I told you I had a story about this stove. So the story is, we had a different electric stove here. It was kind of beat up. The handle was missing. Just not in very good shape. But our main plan is we want a gas stove. So the plumber who was just here, he was going to run a gas line this week so we could get a new gas stove and put it in there. And in turn, we're also gonna replace this fridge eventually, but we're waiting until we remove this stuff so we can open it up a little more. So to get prepared for the plumber this week, I came down to the crawl space as he needs to get in the crawl space to run this gas line. Let's go down to the crawl space, guys. Hold on. So, down here, it's a spooky old crawl space. And as you can see, I kind of cleared out an area for him, but if you look way back there, way on that back wall, all that insulation, all along there is where the gas line was going to be. And of course, we got stuff in here. We got some wiring. Needless to say, the crawl space needs some TLC. Hey, Eddie. So I was down there cleaning it up, and it was a miserable mess. So I decided to call the plumber and say, hold off on the gas line. I gotta get this place cleaned up before we go any further with that project. In turn, I decided, hey, maybe I can just go on Marketplace and find a decent stove, electric stove, that at least will hold us over for a while. Went on a good old Marketplace, and within a few seconds, I found this stove about 25 miles from here. So I ran up, picked it up, got it back here. I did have to replace the power cord from, this one came with a 4-prong. I had to put a 3-prong in its place. I was gonna take the one off the old stove, but it looked a little crusty. So I went up to the hardware store and replaced it with a brand new one. Another issue we had this week, again, we just started coming over here. We decided to have dinner here a few days ago for the first time. Well, the second night we were gonna have dinner, the wife plugged 2 things into one circuit here in the kitchen. And of course, what? Got ladybugs, guys. Anyway, 2 things into one circuit and the power popped. So there was a GFCI outlet back there. It is currently a standard outlet. So as you would, we assume the GFCI breaker just popped. But we're hitting the buttons and they just didn't feel right. I automatically assumed, well, the GFCI is no longer any good, which happens quite often with those things. So I got the tools, I popped it off, got my tester, and we didn't have power to the outlet. So I thought, well, maybe it wasn't the GFCI. So in turn, okay, I'll just go down to the breaker box. Must have popped the breaker down there. So come down here through the breaker panels. We have 2 of them. I got the cover off. And none of the breakers were popped. They were all on. So now my head was really scratching. I'm definitely not no professional electrician or nothing like that. And of course, nothing was marked down there. I didn't know what breakers turned on what and turned off what. So I just kind of started flicking breakers. Not having any luck. And there was one breaker in the top right. It was a double 20 amp breaker. And it said boiler next to it. So I'm like, well, that's for the boiler for sure. That's the only one that was actually marked down there. So I did not touch that breaker. So we went home that night, not knowing what was wrong with the electrical. Next day I got up. I was trying to get a hold of a couple electricians. Didn't have a ton of luck. I was advised to maybe call the power company, which I did that, and they had somebody come out in about an hour or so. Everything looked good on their end. They came down to take a peek. He popped the cover off the panel there, and he put his tester on that first breaker, which was that double 20, and there was no power. He's like, oh, there's no power here. And he messed around a little bit, and he's like, oh, I guess there is power here. Never mind. And he checked a few more, and they all looked good. He flicked that boiler one off, on and off. So he couldn't really figure nothing out. Came back up, and the lights were on in the kitchen. So for whatever, that double 20 did not pop, but something happened, but we had to wiggle it a little bit, and all the power came back on. So up here, I put the GFCI outlet back in there, and we still had no power on the outlets. And the button still felt weird in the GFCI, so I took it off, and I just threw in a standard outlet, and everything's working now. So we also had a bad GFCI outlet. And of course, this week, as we're trying to get in here, that definitely wasn't the last of the issues, folks. Here, by the way, it's our little sunroom area. We got a new plant over here. It was sitting over here in the corner. And Chris came in last night about 9:30, and there was water all over the floor. So we're thinking, crap, this new plant is leaking out of the bottom. So let's get that plant out of here and clean it all up. So that's what we did. We took the towel, we wiped up the area, and we started seeing water. Just start filling right here, out of the blue. It made no sense. Like, is that water coming from the floor? Finally, I start feeling around, and I'm kind of feeling it. And it eventually directed me over to this corner. I took the cover off of this, and we found a pinhole in the copper there shooting out this way. Chris happened to have a couple bottles of super glue in the drawer. I was out in the shop looking for a clamp or something, hose clamp. She called me up and said she had stopped the leak. I couldn't believe it. So we thought it was stopped. It's still leaking, but it's just not shooting out here anymore. Now it's just dripping down there. Which, by the way, I should stop and go put a bowl or something in there, as the plumber was just here and we did find water leaking down in that area. Now, some of you guys are probably not familiar. We got boiler heat in this house. So it's all water. We got baseboards on the house. Water runs through these lines and heats it up. So we got a leak. That's not a good thing. The plumber did say he's able to take care of that, though it might not happen for a few days. So I got to get down, put something under that leak, see if I can catch some of the water. It's not a huge leak, but it's enough to get everything wet down there. So I'll be back in a minute, guys. Hold on. Actually, seeing this is the remodeling update video, I'll go show you guys the leak. Once again, in the electrical room. This is obviously way up there in the corner. That's the one that goes up. You can see that. And like all this has a little bit of water on it. You can see it's a little wet there. So I gotta get something under there. Try catching some of that stuff. Let me get the flashlight so I can see what the hell I'm doing up here. Not sure how much I'm going to catch, but all right. That should hopefully do it. Since I'm down here in the basement, I can give you a quick update on here. I painted all these walls, took out all the ceilings here. These were blue. I got a bunch of coats on this. I got like 1 coat of primer and 2 or 3 coats of paint. So I opened all this up because we were going to run some plumbing through here, but that's on hold for the moment. Basically, we got storage going on in here. We got way too much stuff. Still not sure what we're going to do with all this stuff. Back here, we got the boiler rolling. What else? We got the dehumidifier. I got that. We got some makeshift lighting here, but we really brightened up the place. This was full, 30 years of cobwebs probably, just everywhere, and we cleaned all that up. Still got the graffiti from back when I was in high school. Interesting stuff. Again, look at all the stuff. This is all stuff we deemed as not worthy of throwing out, which we do have a pile of that stuff outside, which we are throwing out. But, you know, still not sure what to do with a lot of this stuff. I did buy a new sump pump recently. This should be replumbed, but haven't got to that yet. There's a drain on the new tub, which you guys will be seeing shortly. Chris's tanning bed. This is a boiler. I think I found somebody that maybe wants it to get it out of here. Again, another interesting story on this boiler. It had some nice copper coming off the top here. This thing's been here as long as I remember, since I've been here. Didn't think nothing of it. I cut it, and water just poured all over the place. Not a ton, but enough. So after that, I got the old Sawzall, and I cut the copper off of this one. After I did that, water just started pouring all over the frickin' place, shooting out. I got scared for a second. I'm running around. I'm like, is this thing hooked up? Did I cut a live line? But I looked around. I'm like, no, it's not hooked up to anything. Couldn't figure it out. Just water just pouring and pouring out of it. Eventually I figured it must have still been full of water. And I literally flooded a good portion of this basement with that water from the boiler. That water was probably in there 40 years. I don't know. Who'd have thought it would stay in there that long? I was starting to mention this, I forgot. We got an old pool table here. We actually had to cut a hole in the floor many years ago to get this thing down here. And my dad said, this pool table is never leaving. And it never has. You can see there, we even cut the carpet around there. That's how heavy this thing is. The kind of plan for now, who knows if it'll ever happen, but it's got a... I just broke something. Anyway, this has a slate top, about a 4x8. We're toying with the idea of knocking this pool table apart and getting that slate out of there, which is quite heavy, by the way, and making like a big kitchen island with it. Sounds like a cool project. If that ever happens, who knows? And, you know, these freaking windows, they all need to be replaced. You don't realize it sometimes until you start getting into it. This is a 50-year-old house. And a lot of things here are still 50 years old, haven't been updated. Including these electrical panels. They're probably going to need to be updated eventually here. But they still work. They're still doing a job. Eventually I will get to that. I should almost split this remodeling video into 2 videos because it's already getting long and I didn't even get close to showing you guys everything. Hey guys, I'm going to jump in here, actually stop the video because yes, it is getting pretty long, so we're going to cut it in half. We're going to end this one here. If you guys made it this far, what the heck is wrong with you guys? But thanks for watching, I appreciate it. So stick around. The second half will be coming out in the next couple days. I'm going to say thanks for watching. I'm going to let you guys go, and we will see you guys next time.